It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state. And there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nic Horton. You can find Nic's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
Welcome back to First News. Yes, legislation flying through the Arkansas State Capitol with over 500 bills already filed this session. And as taxpayers, we deserve to know where our money is going. So joining me now to break it all down is Nic Horton, CEO of Opportunity Arkansas. Nic, good morning, and thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, good morning. It's great to be with you all as always. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, I'm excited to get to talk to you today. Normally it's Toby that gets to have these conversations with you, but I'm gonna try to keep us up.
You sound a lot more pleasant than Toby. So.
I get that a lot, Nic. Yeah, that happens sometimes. I tend to smile a little bit more when I speak than Toby does.
Yeah.
So let's start a little bit with the big picture here. What trends are you seeing this legislative session when it comes to government spending?
Well, I have good news and bad news about that. Mostly just bad news. Unfortunately, I think really what we're seeing, it's frustrating, frankly, as a conservative, as a taxpayer, and someone who, you see what's going on at the federal level with Elon Musk and President Trump, and a real appetite to finally rein in government and rein in government spending. Mm-hmm. And frankly, we're in the middle of week 4 of the legislative session right now. We'll be, by the end of this week, about a third of the way through. This is our chance once every 2 years. This is our only chance for a regular legislative session until 2027, 2 years from now, to really rein in state government through the legislature. And frankly, what we're seeing are a lot of legislation to just continue to spend more and more and more and more of your hard-earned money. And frankly, I think what has also been disappointing is not just that we're spending more money and proposing spending more money, but again, we're also not seeing, I think, in my opinion, enough of an effort to really rein in some of these programs that are out of control. The biggest example being our Medicaid program, mm-hmm. which now consumes more than 1 in 4 of every dollar that we spend. More than 1 in 4 of every dollar that the state of Arkansas spends goes to feed the Medicaid monster, and we're not making really any significant progress. And in fact, the vast majority of all the Medicaid-related legislation that's been filed is going to expand the program, add benefits, add coverages, spend even more money. And so we've got a long way to go. And now, again, there is some good news in that there have been several bills filed to cut some taxes. Certainly, we're expecting to see a grocery tax filed. There's a bill that's been filed, HB 1203 by Representative Kendon Underwood, that's going to remove something that we call a tax to collect taxes. So if you're a business owner in the state of Arkansas and the state says you have to collect sales tax, they actually charge you a fee in order to do that. So you have to pay a fee to the state in order to collect sales tax for the state. Yeah, it really is as crazy as it sounds. So we're seeing some good movement. Representative David Ray from Maumelle has some great legislation that's going to increase the standard deduction for people that pay state income tax. There are some things out there. And again, I think we still have some time here. We're only about a third of the way through. Mm-hmm. But I think as someone who, we've got conservative supermajorities, we've got a conservative governor, I think there's a lot of angst to see when are we going to get more aggressive about really reining in state government like we're seeing at the federal level.
And that's very true, too, because I would think with Governor Sanders' backgrounds that she would be a little bit more on what President Trump is doing with like the government spending on that federal level. I was hoping to see a lot more of that taking place here in Arkansas as well, just kind of because I know she aligns a lot with him. So I was thinking that we were going to have a lot of those same kind of policies, Nic. But so you were talking about Medicaid already, and there's some bills to kind of expand Medicaid coverage and things like that. But what are the alternatives? If these bills put more strain on our system, what kind of reform would Medicaid spending need to be more efficient?
Well, we need to make sure, first and foremost, we need to make sure that we have a strong safety net for people that truly need it. Mm-hmm. And I think when you look at the Medicaid program today, we are a very, very long way away from that. We released a new study about 2 weeks ago on our Medicaid waiting list. And a lot of folks, frankly, this is just not an issue that's gotten nearly enough attention, certainly in recent years. We've got nearly 2,000 Arkansans in the state of Arkansas who are on Medicaid waiting lists waiting for services. And these are individuals, these are not folks with headaches or back pain or very small level disabilities or chronic illnesses. These are folks who can't talk, can't walk, can't feed themselves. I mean, severe intellectual developmental disabilities, and families that we've talked to who have had to quit their jobs and cut back on other places in their budget to be able to stay home and take care of these family members. They need help, and they've been waiting for help. The average time that it takes for those families, the average in the state of Arkansas, is 10 years.
Whoa.
A decade.
I was not expecting that number, Nick. 10 years to stay on a wait list?
Me either. Yeah.
My goodness.
Until we looked into it and found that that's the average, which of course means there's people that are waiting much longer than that, because that's just kind of the middle of the road. So that's number one. We have systemic problems in our Medicaid program. The budget has just continued to explode. Enrollment has continued to explode. And so our message is really look, are there some things that we could tack on, or benefits, or, we're going to add this pharmacy benefit or this thing or that thing? Maybe, fine. Maybe some of those things make sense at some point. But we have gotten this so backwards. The program is so broken that our message is we got to get the basics right before we start adding on all of these extra things. And so until we are taking care of people that truly need help adequately, and by the way, we've got roughly 250,000 able-bodied working-age adults on this program. Until we've gotten those people out of the program, back on their feet, back into the workforce, and we're spending $2 billion a year on just that population.
Wow.
Until we solve those big problems, don't talk to me about, we need to tack on this, we need to tack on that, we need to add this, we need to add this benefit. I mean, some of these plans that the expansion population, the able-bodied working age population are getting, I mean, they have better insurance than I have.
Yeah,
they have better insurance than most Arkansans have, and they don't pay anything for it.
Right.
So the whole system is really just flipped inside out, and we're taking a pretty strong, hard position against, we're not going to continue to throw money at a broken system until we can figure out how to get the basics right. So let's talk about the basics. Let's get the basics right, and then we can talk about some of these other things. But this idea that we're just going to keep expanding it, keep throwing money at it, keep adding people to it, it's not working. It doesn't improve health. It doesn't solve any of these systemic problems. We've got to stop the madness and get the basics right. That's really our message.
Yeah, no, that's a great message too, because I'm with you. You got people on a wait list for 10 years, and 2,000 really, that doesn't sound like a lot of people when compared to, all of the other able-bodied Americans, like you were saying, that are on the system. It feels like that's just such a backwards thing that's happening, and that it seems like it would be an easy fix. Just, start giving it to the people that actually need it, Nick. But I'm with you. That can be very frustrating.
Yeah. Well, it does seem easy in that sense. And, when you look at the amount of money, just in terms of dollars, $2 billion for able-bodied adults versus $15 to $20 million from the recent estimates that we have to take care of the state waiting list. Man, for the people that actually truly need it, right? Like the people that Medicaid was actually designed to help and deserve our support. It doesn't make sense. But we have this mentality that, it would be better to take the money and spread it across as many people as possible, even if it means that, folks that truly need it aren't getting enough help or aren't getting appropriate help. It'd be better just stretch it off across as many people as possible, rather than focusing it and concentrating it on the people that actually truly need it. And I think that's the totally opposite, backwards way that this should be done.
Yeah.
It should be concentrated on, and I think I could speak pretty safely for most Arkansans and say they'd be willing to spend twice as much per person on individuals that really truly need help, that have severe disabilities, than they would to continue to just dole out these benefits to people who are capable of working and refuse to work.
I mean, just think of how we could help those people
work.
by moving that money over to the ones that actually need it, And like you said, even if it's giving them more money, just think of how much you could actually help somebody that truly needs their Medicaid coverage.
Someone that actually needs help.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And then you're
life-changing.
You're spending $2 billion. You're spending $2 billion to give support to people who don't need it, who should be working, who should be contributing and paying in their fair share, to use the term of the left, in tax revenue. And actually, you're making their lives worse because you're teaching them to be dependent on government long term, and you're delaying, this idea that we're helping people in poverty. We're not helping people in poverty by continuing to give them endless welfare benefits. We're teaching them to stay in poverty by continuing to give them free stuff.
That they're going to continue to get all that. Exactly.
That's right. You're actually making it worse for everyone, and you're certainly making it worse for the people that are paying for it. So it's just completely backwards, and at some point, we've got a long way to go here. We've got nearly 1 million people on this program now, but we've got to get back to basics and get the basics right.
Yeah, well, we got to keep fighting and advocating for that too, Nick. And you guys are over at Opportunity Arkansas doing a great job with that as well. I had some more questions I wanted to ask you too. We kind of stuck there on the Medicaid, which is fine too. But there was a lot of bills that were being passed through. So just real fast, Nick, what are some of the most significant bills that we should really be paying attention to?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm long-winded.
No, you're fine.
Took up all your time, but there's a lot going on. As you said, there's been more than 500 bills filed, and I think based on what we saw last session, there's probably going to be another 1,000 or more bills filed. So this is going to continue to just be this onslaught of legislation. Probably the most significant thing that we've actually seen get significant movement so far is this idea of getting cell phones out of schools during the school day. That passed the Senate yesterday with 28 votes, which was kind of surprising. It got surprising to me, at least. It got most of the Democrat support on the Senate side. So that's one of the most significant, I think, all-encompassing pieces of legislation that's moved. We've actually seen less than 20 bills actually get signed by the governor, which is kind of interesting. When you've been in session for almost 4 weeks, you've got 500 bills out there, and you've only had 13 bills get to the governor's desk.
Actually make it.
It's kind of interesting. So, not a lot of movement. There's a lot of stuff being filed and a lot of ideas being floated, but I think there is a part of this where it's like, okay, let's get a bunch of the legislation in. Let's look at everything that's out there, and then let's have some strategic conversations about what we move and when we move it. And we're just not quite there yet. So I think mid-February, look, I'm anxious. I think we're just wasting time right now, right? Like we're just having meetings and talking,
right?
And, recognizing the chaplain of the day and doing all these things, the ceremonial stuff, and that's fine. But we're getting to the end of week 4 here, and it's time to get moving on some stuff. So I'm really hopeful. I hope that when we talk this time next week, we'll have more to report.
Have a little bit more there to talk about. Sure, I can understand that. Well, I'm looking at that cell phone bill too, because I'm excited to not have my kid take his cell phone to school. So that's something as a parent I've been really paying attention to. But Nick, I look forward to talking to you again next Wednesday, and maybe we'll have 25 or 26 new bills that have passed through that we can discuss. But as always, we appreciate your time.
That will hopefully be good. We'll see. Hopefully they're good bills.
Right. That's the important part right there. But Nick, as always, we appreciate you stopping by this Wednesday.